So I recently made a video called What If the Yonkos Had Domain Expansions, and I've gotta say, it did a lot better than I expected. I also promised that if that video got 1000 likes, then I would make another video covering the Admirals domains. And since you guys completely smashed that goal, I think it's about time that I fulfill my end of the bargain and make a video dedicated to exploring the Admirals domains. I am gonna start off by quickly recapping the rules of these videos though, in an attempt to sort of scare off the crying pit of goblins that is the One Piece and JJK fandom. What I'm gonna do is go through each admiral that we've seen in One Piece and give them a domain expansion with a sure hit based on their devil fruit and personality. All the techie JJK bullshit about cursed energy and domain counters and hollow wicker bullshit can all be forgotten. I am literally just giving them a normal closed barrier domain with a sure hit. That's it, nothing more. If you're one of those weirdos that think mixing JJK and One Piece should be a crime punishable by death, then get lost, because this is a toxicity-free place. You got that, you fucking freaks? Also, if this video can get 1000 likes too, then I will release a similar video where I turn Jujutsu Kaisen curse techniques into devil fruits. And for the love of God, please just subscribe. Anyway, enough yapping. Let's get right into it. So the first admiral that we are giving a domain to is Ryukugyu, who I'm going to be calling Greenbull because big words terrify me. Also, slight side rant, but this guy just pisses me off so much. Like, I don't know why people think he's some kind of big shot. First off, bro's built like a fucking broccoli. I should be calling his domain expansion one of your 5 a day for fuck's sake. And then there's the fact that Shanks' haki had him, an admiral, genuinely tweaking. I mean, if Mappa animated that scene, then I guarantee you they start playing this shit over it. You are my special. Okay, side rant over. I'm sorry about that. I'll just put the broccoli in the bag. So, I have decided to name Greenbull's domain Roots of Justice. The location is a big swampy forest covered in thick vines, and the sure hit is simple enough. The vines will surround and pierce into the opponent, as well as growing from inside their body, kind of similar to Hanami's technique from Jujutsu Kaisen. And these vines will then drain the opponent of all of their nutrients and water, just like what happened to the bum-ass lizard queen. Despite my personal bias, I actually think I made this domain expansion pretty strong, but Greenbull is boring, so I'm gonna move on to more exciting characters. Next up is the blind badass known as Admiral Fujitora, who, unlike Greenbull, is actually my favorite admiral and is defo in my top 10 One Piece characters of all time. Fujitora is not only one of the strongest swordsmen in the verse, but he also possesses the Zushi no Mi, aka the Press fruit, which allows him to manipulate gravity. Now, since this same gravity ability has already been shown in Kenjaku's domain, I decided to put a bit of a spin on it in order to make Fujitora's domain suit his character a little better. I have called his domain Scales of Justice. And yeah, you've probably realized that there is a little theme of justice going on in the domain names. It works like this. The opponent is placed on one end of a giant scale and Fujitora stands on the other. The scale then measures guilt, evil, and how many innocent lives that person has taken. It literally judges them. The more evil they are and the more lives they have taken determines how strong the gravity applied to them will be. Meaning, of course, that most people Fujitora would use this against get completely destroyed. I mean, I'll put it this way, okay? If Fujitora used the domain on Doflamingo in Dressrosa, then Dofi would just straight up die in like 5 seconds. Of course, Doflamingo could have a domain of his own to counter with, but that's for a separate video. Now, you may be wondering why I added the judgment feature at all. Well, it's because it's what suits Fujitora best as a character who believes in humane justice. He leaves the fate of his opponent up to the fair scales of justice, which then ensures that he could never use this power on someone innocent. It's all about fairness with Fujitora, which is why I love him. And for that reason, I've got to say that this is my favorite One Piece domain that I've created so far. Anyway, moving on, we now have the only remaining OG Admiral, known as Kizaru, or Borsalino, but I prefer Kizaru, so we're gonna stick with that. Now, Kizaru possesses the Pika no Mi, aka the Glint fruit, which is a Logia-type devil fruit that lets him attack with and become light. I have called Kizaru's domain Rays of Justice. Get it? Because, like, rays of light, you know? Anyway, the domain setting is very simple. It's just pure light. In fact, it's so bright in the domain that you cannot see anything at all. Only very skilled observation haki users will be able to sense shit while in the domain. Now, the sure hit of the domain basically has the effect of a super strong and super concentrated laser beam. However, unlike Fujitora's domain, which comes from his sense of fair and humane justice, Kizaru's domain works very differently due to his sense of unclear justice. Kizaru kind of pursues justice at his own pace and lies somewhere between between moral and absolute justice, so I decided his domain's strength should be determined by his own judgment. He can fully control and adjust the concentration of the laser depending on his own judgment of the opponent, both in terms of judging their strength and how innocent or guilty they are. That burden of making a decision lies fully on him, which I think is quite fitting. But make no mistake, Kizaru ain't a pussy. He will completely destroy even the strongest opponents in his domain. That is, if he deems them enough of a threat. Oh, and since the entire domain is light, Kizaru can simply become light and then hide in it, making him practically impossible to target. And as we've said before, the only real counter they have to these broken domains is to just expand your own. Okay, now we're gonna get into the real exciting part, because next up is Kuzan, aka Aokiji, aka that ice guy. And before you all start yapping at me, yes, I know, he's no longer an admiral, but for the sake of the video, we're gonna pretend that he is, because otherwise it'd be boring as shit. So quit your complaining and just lock the fuck in, please. Now, Kuzan possesses the Hi no Mi, or the Hi no Mi, or the Hie no... oh, whatever, he has some sort of ice devil fruit. It's pretty easy. Now, this fruit basically lets him do ice stuff. Honestly, with basic arts powers like these, it's pretty hard to make an interesting domain expansion, but fuck it, I'll do my best. After all, it's all about what it represents, right? Anyway, I have named Kuzan's domain. That's right, you guessed it, Glacier of Justice. The domain actually functions similarly to Kizaru's because the entire space is just a solid block of ice. Like, he might as well have dropped his opponent in a cement mixer because they are literally stuck in this giant cube of ice. Well, I guess it would be more of a sphere if it's in a domain, but whatever. And yes, it most definitely is overkill, but hey, lazy justice, right? Even if the opponent can hold out in that temperature for a while, all Kuzan really has to do is just sit back and watch, because they will eventually die of shock or hypothermia or just straight freezingness. Even characters who can break the ice, like Doflamingo, won't last long, because the more ice you break, the more it just grows back even faster. Kuzan literally doesn't even have to do anything himself. He can just sit there and wait for the opponent to slowly die. What's more, the block of ice they are frozen in actually remains intact after closing the domain, making it a good way to guarantee the capture of a target. Assuming, of course, that they won't just fall victim to his normal ice anyway, which 99% of characters will. So there's that, I guess. Also, another quick side rant. What the fuck are you doing, Kuzan, man? Like, I really fucked with you before you went doing all this evil shit with Blackbeard. Come on, just pattern up. I swear to God, he better be a deep undercover sword agent or some shit. Either way, I don't really see him making it to the end of One Piece alive, and that's just, oh well, I guess, because Fujitora is my new favorite admiral, so fuck you, Kuzan. Anyway, taking the final spot on our list of admirals is Sakazuki, who I'm going to continue calling Sakazuki, because quite frankly, trying to say akainu more than 3 times might actually give me a stroke. I'm pretty sure I said it wrong then. And just like Kuzan, Sakazuki is no longer an actual admiral due to his promotion to the guy who sits around shouting orders at people over a snail radio. God, now that I say that out loud, it makes me realize how strange One Piece is. Now, this guy is often considered to be the strongest admiral, and he is also one of the show's main big bad antagonists. And yes, bro has literally been labeled a main antagonist simply for doing his job. Rightfully so though, because you killed Ace, you fucking Grandpa Max looking freak. Anyway, Sakazuki possesses the Magu no Mi, aka the Magma fruit, which is a Logia type devil fruit that allows him to control, you guessed it, magma. And I have decided to name his domain expansion Hell. That's right, not Flames of Justice, not Scorching Justice, just Hell. Straight to the point, just like him. Now, for the location of his domain, I want you to imagine the inside of Mount Doom from Lord of the Rings. They are basically on a long ledge inside of a volcano which is hanging above a pool of lava. Or magma, but technically it's lava. I think it's lava. Oh, who cares? With Sakazuki believing firmly in thorough and absolute justice, I decided this domain should reflect that by being very simple and very strong. For most opponents that he will face, Sakazuki won't even need to activate the sure hit, since the sheer heat from being in the volcano will kill or at least seriously injure them right away. For considerably tougher opponents, or ones with counters to heat, Sakazuki can simply choose to activate the sure hit, causing the entire volcano to erupt. And this means you're basically stuck in an oven that is completely overflowing with raging lava, or magma, whatever. Considering that both Big Mom and Kaido seem to have fallen victim to magma buried deep underground, I think it's safe to say that Sakazuki's domain will destroy pretty much anybody without a direct counter. And as I have mentioned before, the only way for you to counter these domain expansions in One Piece is to expand your own domain, or just be built different like Shanks, who is immune to domains just like Toji and Maki. If you want to know why, then make sure to watch part 1. Haha, shameless plug. But seriously, I'll leave the link in the description. Go watch it. It's a good video. But yeah, that does it for explaining the Admirals domain expansions. All there is really left to do now is for me to rank them in order of strength and refinement. And for last place, it's very easy for me to place Greenbull, and there's absolutely no personal bias there at all. Trust me. And then there is Kizaru's domain, not because it's weak, just because the others are a little bit stronger. I also feel like out of all of the Admirals domains, Kizaru's is likely to have the worst refinement, meaning that other domains might be able to beat his if they're strong enough. And you can't argue with that because these aren't a real thing and whatever I say goes. So if I say his refinement is weaker, then it's weaker. In third place, I am placing Kuzan, which I'm sure actually will surprise most of you, but let me cook please. His domain is obviously crazy strong, but it doesn't guarantee a complete victory until the target is dead, which can take longer in Kuzan's case. And in second place, I am placing Fujitora's Scales of Justice domain. And sure, against an average opponent, it will likely be an average domain. However, because the gravity applied is very dependent on how guilty the opponent is, then in theory it could have the most lethal sure hit out of all of them, hence why he's in second place. And that of course means Sakazuki takes first place on our list, and that's because I don't think there is a single One Piece character bar Brook who could survive that sure hit. Just like last time though, they are all Shanks victims, domain or otherwise, and I will not hear anything different. But yeah, that does it for today's video, so make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more. As always, feel free to join the Discord and follow me on Twitter, links below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in a bit.